All right, everyone. Well, at this point, just about every major news organization has officially declared Donald J. Trump the winner of the 47th presidency of the United States of America. And whether you supported him or didn't support him this election cycle, I think we can all agree it is a historic comeback. The fact that he won in 2016, lost in 2020, and has now won again in 2024, and is actually on track to win the popular vote at this point, which is surprising to a lot of people. I think a Republican hasn't won the popular vote since 2004. That is subject to change as more results come in. Maybe he won't end up winning the popular vote, but like I said, at this point, it looks like he will. And I think that's a great invitation for the Democratic Party to reflect on what happened here. Anytime a party loses in this two-party system that we have, which I think the two-party system has a lot of flaws in and of itself, but it is the system that we have. Anytime a party loses, I think there's great opportunity for them to reflect on why. And the temptation is for that party to take the easier route, which is the bitter route, which is to say the reason we lost is just because everybody on the other side is either stupid or hateful or etc. But that really is the lazier route, and it's the easier route. It's the tempting route because you don't even have to think that hard, honestly. You can just blame everyone else, accept yourselves. We saw some of that in 2020 from the Republican Party. We saw some of that in 2016 from the Democratic Party when they lost. And my hope is that the Democratic Party in this scenario will do some reasonable reflection and not revert to just bitterness and all of that, even though I'm already seeing traction on that side or that way of thinking, including in comment sections, as I've already been reading some comments on social media posts. A lot of them that are getting upvoted, meaning a lot of people are resonating with these comments, are saying things like, the fact that Trump won just reveals how stupid the American people are or how hateful they are, or the fact that they're racist or sexist or et cetera, you name it. And that truly is just, in my opinion, a lazy form of thinking and an unwillingness to look at your own party's flaws when, again, I think both parties should reflect upon a loss and ask why and not just blame the American people on the other side. Two great things that I think would be beneficial for the Democrats to reflect upon and to recognize. The first one is a little bit more of a unique one that's not something that'll be playing out in every election, which is how Kamala Harris even got into this point. Obviously, she ran in 2020 and she, for whatever reason, did not resonate with the American people. She did not receive a lot of votes and support to become the Democratic nominee. Joe Biden then picked her as the vice president to run with him, which is fine. They won. She then did a really poor job winning over the American people as vice president. I think she was the least popular vice president that maybe we've ever had. And a big part of that was obviously her handling of the border, being the primary one responsible for it. And it did not go well, period. That was kind of her resume up to the point where Joe Biden then lost the debate so badly because he clearly showed signs of mental decline that the Democratic Party essentially forced him out against his will and put her in the position of the Democratic nominee for this 2024 election. That obviously has some major problems. And I think what that shows both parties is that you can't just insert somebody into this that you want and expect your party and everyone in it or the American people to follow suit. That's not how it works. I really think that it would have been beneficial for the Democratic Party to have some sort of ability for the Democratic Party's people to vote on who they think the nominee should be once Biden stepped aside, instead of just inserting Kamala in there. I think that was a mistake. I think you can't just force a candidate down America's throat. I think you have to give them a chance to weigh in on it, and the American people did not get a chance to weigh on it, particularly the Democratic Party members did not get a chance to weigh in on that, and I think that was a major mistake. I think their hope was that if they put anybody in there that isn't Trump, that doesn't have this issue of mental decline, that maybe people will hate Trump enough to just simply support that person no matter who they are. And I think that it's obvious that did not work. So I think that was a mistake. Anytime you go around the voice of the people, I think it just does not turn out well, including in this case. So that's the more unique one because that scenario is come and gone, and I don't foresee that scenario happening again anytime soon. The bigger one, the more important one for, I believe, the left and the Democrats to reflect on is that they're pushed more towards the radical left, and particularly the party's leadership adopting more radical ideas on the far left is really not resonating with the American people. Let me give you a couple in particular. First and foremost, so many of the discussions and viewpoints around gender ideology and transgenderism, particularly when it comes to sports and children. So when it comes to sports, obviously having biological men compete with women is ridiculous and something that is just, it's unreasonable in every way. It's a destruction of women's sports. I hear many people giving a counter argument that say, well, it's so few cases compared to the amount of sports that are played all around the world or in this nation. It's not that many cases, but the cases are going up. And the problem is that it may not be that many cases as far as percentage goes now, but it is going up. And if we become culturally accepting of this, then it will only continue to go up. So the point is not that it's in most cases now that biological men are winning. The point is that it's an increasing number and that it's being pushed to become culturally acceptable. And if that happens, that's the end of women's sports as we know it. And more importantly, that destroys some societal norms that we have about who men and women are. And women honestly lose a lot of spaces that they have as women that are being invaded by men that identify as women. And so this idea that simply identifying as something makes you that thing is just, I believe, not resonating with a lot of American people, including, by the way, minorities, the Hispanic community and the Black community who have voted in an increased number for Donald Trump this election. A lot of the left's radical ideologies are just not resonating with them, including, like I said, the sports issue, the cultural adjustment that's being pushed to be made on how we view men and women in general. And then with that topic, targeting children and pushing that children should be able to get onto puberty blockers that they used to claim was totally reversible, but it's clear from studies that it's not totally reversible. And even pushing that children should be able to have, or minors should be able to have, surgical procedures if they identify as a different gender, removing certain body parts. And it's just craziness that is not resonating, like I said, with the American people at all. We don't even allow children or minors under 18 to get tattoos because we know that their brain is not even fully developed to make that kind of permanent decision. We've seen on social media, for example, I did a reaction video a long time ago that I think it was a 4-year-old, maybe even a 2-year-old, that identified as a boy. And so the parents were raising this little girl as a boy because the 2 or 4-year-old simply said, I'm a boy. And so the parents, wanting to be accepting, said, okay, let's raise this girl as a boy. And it's really terrible. It's confusing for a child. A child has no idea at that point what it is that they actually want or believe about themselves. But the left has just become more and more radical on this. And it's just, like I said, it's not resonating with the American people. One more far left idea that I believe is not resonating with the American people is abortion all the way up until birth. Now, I know abortion is a popular, it is popular with the American people that abortion should be legal. The majority of the American people stand by that and believe that abortion should be legal, which as a pro-lifer, that's not where I stand, but I'm willing to accept that that is where the majority of the American people stand. Where I do not believe the majority of the American people stand is that abortion should be legal all the way up until birth. But many people on the Democratic leadership, as they're going farther and farther left, are all the way over there saying that abortion should be legal all the way up until the point of birth, that we shouldn't, quote unquote, tell women what they should do with their bodies, even up until the point that the baby is born, meaning an 8.5-month baby in the womb has zero value unless the mother deems that that baby has value. And that to me is just crazy. That is just so far from being reasonable that I think even a lot of people that are pro-abortion or pro-choice would admit that that is an unreasonable position to take. And we're not even talking about just in life-saving scenarios and all of that. The Democratic Party in many ways and their leadership believes that it should be legal, not just in life-saving scenarios, but in general, that if for whatever reason a woman decides that she wants to have an abortion at that point, it doesn't matter the reason, that there should be no limitations on that. Not everyone in Democratic leadership believes that, by the way, but some do, and some are proponents of that. And that is just crazy. And I know that it's rare compared to the amount of early term abortions that happen. It's not as high in the late term, but it does exist. And the fact that there's an argument being had that babies all the way up until the point of birth have no value at all as life, even though they can feel pain. All their senses are developed. It's just unbelievable to me. Point being that the left is going so far left that it's just not resonating with so many of the American people. And I think that's something that they can reflect on. And I think it's something that they should reflect on. And so my hope is that these radical left ideas can become more on the fringe and not go so far on everything. Abortion has gone from safe, legal, and rare to shout your abortion from the rooftop. It's like a war cry and something to be immensely proud of if you get an abortion, no matter what state of the pregnancy you're in. And that's just craziness. And I don't believe that that's reasonable. But those are the things that I really think the Democratic Party should reflect on leaving this election. But I'm interested to know, what do you guys think? How do you guys diagnose what happened during this election cycle? And do you agree with me? Do you think that those are key points that the Democratic Party should reflect on? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments about that. And thanks for tuning in, guys. There's a lot that's going to be happening over the next month. So if you're not already subscribed, hit subscribe. If you're interested in following a YouTube channel that's attempts to be more loyal to principles than political parties, then maybe this is the channel for you. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And I will see you next time at the Jonathan Dearman Show. Peace out.